as a retired teacher. Every day, she helps people write letters at the central station to earn a little money. The pedestrians here come and go in a rush, indifferent and detached. But the people who sit in front of her are full of emotion. They pour out their stories to her without reservation. There are letters missing a lover in prison, letters scolding a friend, and letters from a woman with her child, venting about her heartless husband. Dora looks weary and detached. She pretends to carefully choose her words, sympathizing with all the misfortunes in the world, then charges a fee, $1 for writing the letter, $2 for mailing it. But Dora never mails these letters after taking them home. Instead, she calls over her best friend, Irene, and they read the letters together, then mock them shamelessly. One man wrote, "You're the only one I have feelings for," but he sent the exact same letter to 10 different women. Another man bragged in his letter about his high education and good looks, but in reality, he was ugly and couldn't even write a single word. In Dora's view, these letters full of lies were never worth sending, so she often just tore them up on the spot. But as for the letter accusing the husband, Irene insisted it had to be mailed, so the child could find his father and the family could be reunited. Dora, however, said the man was surely a drunk who beat his wife regularly. Irene shot back that was his problem. They had no right to interfere. So Dora half-heartedly stuffed the letter into a drawer, saying she'd mail it tomorrow. But in truth, the unsent letters piling up in that drawer had been there for a long time. Before, people had come asking why they never got a reply, and Dora would always blame the post office. The next day, the woman who had accused her husband showed up again with her child, and asked if Dora had mailed the letter yet. Dora said she was planning to send it that day, but instead of getting upset, the woman looked delighted, and said she wanted to tear it up and rewrite it. She felt yesterday's letter had been too harsh. This time, she wanted to tell her husband in a gentler tone that she would bring their son to see him next month. She even pulled out a photo of the boy to include with the letter. But after the mother and son left the station, tragedy struck without warning. The woman was swept under a speeding bus and died on the spot. Dora witnessed the whole thing. Josue screamed desperately over his mother's body, but there was no response. That night, he sat alone on a bench in the station, heartbroken and helpless. Josue found Dora and asked her to write another letter to his father. But when Dora refused because he had no money, he threw a fit, demanding that she return his mother's letter. When that got him nowhere, Josue glared at her with fury and chased after the train she was on all the way to the end of the platform. The next day, Dora noticed some local thugs lurking near Josue. She had witnessed all kinds of joys and sorrows over the years, and her heart should have been as hard as steel. But looking at that small, lonely figure, she couldn't bear to look the other way and went over to him. She not only gave him food, but brought him home. At dinner, Josue and Irene hit it off right away. Whenever he mentioned his carpenter father, Josue's face lit up with pride, saying his father could do anything. But after the meal, Josue accidentally found the letters in the drawer and came across his mother's. Dora hurriedly snatched it back and explained that she was mailing it tomorrow. Josue made her swear. Dora did as he asked and promised she wouldn't lie to him. But the very next day, she took Josue to a place and sold him to a man and a woman. They claimed they would find a wealthy family to adopt him. Dora took the commission they gave her and left immediately. She used the money to buy a new TV. When Irene saw it, she sensed something was off, and pressed Dora about where Josue was, and where she'd gotten the money for the TV. Seeing she couldn't hide it, Dora vaguely said she'd sent Josue to an adoption agency. But Irene shot back that Josue was too old. No one would adopt him. Those places were shady outfits that killed children and sold their organs. Nothing legitimate. Dora thought Irene was talking nonsense. What was done was done. What was the point of talking about it now? Irene could only warn her that there had to be a limit to everything, then left in disappointment. That night, guilt tormented Dora and kept her from falling asleep. The next day, she grabbed some children's photos from the letters in the drawer, and went back to the adoption agency. After using the photos to lure the woman away, she slipped in to find Josue. But Josue thought she was a liar and refused to go with her. The commotion quickly alerted the agency woman, who rushed out to grab Dora. Though her sleeve got torn, Dora managed to lock them inside and escape. But those two were not to be trifled with. Dora brought Josue to the station. She wanted to call Irene to warn her to be careful, but before she could, those two had already found her home. For a boy she didn't even know, Dora had made herself homeless. She bitterly regretted her decision, so she quickly bought Josue a ticket, and told him to find his father on his own using the address on the letter. But looking at that tiny silhouette, Dora ultimately couldn't let go and followed him onto the bus. And so, on an otherwise ordinary evening, the two of them set off on an extraordinary journey. At a rest stop, to make a good impression on his father, Josue wanted to buy new clothes. Though Dora grumbled and cursed under her breath, she ended up agreeing. The wind from Rio ruffled Josue's hair, but it couldn't blow away the sorrow in his heart. He didn't know if, after this journey, he would ever return here, or if he would ever find his mother's grave again. But a child's mood is always shifting. Soon, he was observing the men in the bus cabin, quietly calculating the odds that each one could be his father. This time, Dora didn't stop him. Instead, she played along with his little game. Their relationship had quietly softened. But when Josue fell asleep, Dora got off the bus alone and immediately bought a return ticket. Watching the bus disappear into the sunset glow, Dora was overcome with emotion. She had done her part by taking him this far. The rest of the journey was Josue's to make on his own. But when she turned around, she found Josue sitting nearby in a daze. In the face of Dora's complaints, Josue just wept silently. The betrayals and abandonments, one after another, had left his heart riddled with scars. He didn't understand why nobody wanted him, and where he was supposed to go next. Worse still, when Dora got off the bus, she had left only enough money for the ticket, and stuffed all her remaining cash into his backpack. But Josue had left left the backpack on the bus. Dora rushed after it, but the bus was already gone. She hurried to refund the return ticket she just bought, only to be told that the refund window had already closed. Dora was suddenly frantic, because in this unfamiliar place, with no money at all, even survival was a struggle for the two of them. They could only stare enviously at other people eating. A kind-hearted man noticed them and not only shared some food, but also offered them a ride. Along the way, the man had to make a delivery to a store, so they stopped for a while. But Joshua, who was starving, couldn't resist sneaking some snacks from the shop. He went to share them with Dora, but Dora scolded him sternly, told him to put everything in her bag, and then went into the store. She didn't return the items, though. Instead, she grabbed some more ham and crackers, but as she left, the store owner caught her and demanded to search her bag. It was only because the man vouched for her that Dora got out of it. It was the first time a man had ever covered for her like that. Back on the road, she became noticeably more talkative, and the man, seemingly starved of company in his daily solitude, seemed to savor this brief moment of liveliness. He even let Josue sit in his lap and experience what it felt like to drive a truck. Dora watched this heartwarming scene out of the corner of her eye, and a ripple stirred in her heart. The man's gentleness and thoughtfulness afterward even gave her a bold idea. So when the man remarked that after they parted, they might never see each other again in this lifetime, she said very seriously,
Mas a gente não precisa se perder de vista.
Dora! Tô com frio!
Já vou!
That night, Dora didn't get a response from the man, but her gaze was fixed on him completely. He was kind-hearted and considerate. More importantly, he was just as alone as she was. Dora didn't want this hard-won spark to fizzle out, so while resting at a service area, she took the initiative and held the man's hand, but she didn't notice his unease. Instead, she hurried to the bathroom to carefully freshen up. Though love had come a little late in life, she believed that a later encounter meant saving up all the favor for the right moment. But when she came out, she found that the man had sped off as if fleeing for his life. Dora was mortified. She felt she was old and ugly, and that she could never have what people called love. But little did she know, in her most vulnerable moment, the one who would comfort her was Josue.
Você ficou muito mais bonita sem o batom. Muito mais.
And it was that very remark that made Dora swear to help him find his father, even if it meant selling the watch her own father had left her, just to pay a driver to take them further. Not long after, they arrived at their destination and found the house at the address. Although the man before them didn't look much like the photo, and he seemed to have started a new family, Josue was still filled with excitement and hope. But after a careful conversation, the man said he was not Josue's father. His father had moved away long ago. Then he gave them a new address. Their high hopes came crashing down in an instant. Josue walked out of the room slowly, devastated. This search for family had become unbearably long and painful. Frustrated, Dora couldn't help but complain. But in the back and forth that followed with Josue, her words got increasingly out of hand. Josue ran off, furious and hurt. Panicked, Dora chased after him, weaving quickly through a sea of flickering lights, where worshippers were praying to God, but their voices drowned out Dora's frantic calls, pushing her slowly to the brink of collapse. Dora couldn't believe that she had lost Josue in such a chaotic place. Overwhelmed by regret and helplessness, she collapsed to the ground. It wasn't until the gentle morning light spread across the earth that Dora awoke to a soft touch. To her astonishment, she found herself lying in Josue's arms. It turned out he had seen all her desperation the night before, and he had come back to her side, staying with her to greet the new dawn together. Neither of them said a word, but in that moment, they had truly accepted each other in their hearts. To solve their hunger problem, Dora once again took up letter writing, and Josue, once a victim of her schemes, now became her most capable accomplice. Only this time, Dora didn't cut corners. Instead, she carefully polished those simple, earnest emotions, giving voice to feelings that had been buried for years, and adding a touch of hope to otherwise numb lives. Working together, they soon earned enough money. Not only did they solve their survival problems completely, but they also took a photo together. On the way, Josue bought Dora a dress, saying she would look beautiful in it. Back at the inn, when Josue was about to tear up the letters just as Dora used to do, she stopped him. This time, she was going to handle them properly. So the next day, under Josue's astonished gaze, Dora took all the letters to the post office. Then, with what little money they had left, they bought tickets and continued on their way. Only this time, there was a newfound calm on their faces. Soon, they found the house at the address. But when the door opened, they were told that Josue's father had already left, and the person didn't know exactly where he had gone either. Watching Josue's dejected silhouette, Dora came up with a bold idea.
Você não quer vir comigo, hein? Eu gostaria, você sabe. Eu gostaria muito.
Having reached an agreement, they planned to buy tickets and head home right away. But then a young man suddenly approached them, saying the person they were looking for was his father. Wary of being tricked, Josue didn't reveal his real name. Only when he saw a photo of the young man's parents hanging in the house did Josue confirm that this was indeed his half-brother. It turned out that after their mother passed away, the father had gotten together with Josue's mother, Ana. But later, Ana left for Rio while pregnant with Josue. They thought it would be a temporary separation, but it turned out to be forever, and his father truly had been a skilled carpenter. The older brother showed Josue all kinds of his his father's tools. Playing around with them like that felt like a special kind of passing of the torch. Watching this heartwarming scene, Dora felt a pang in her heart, because she knew very well that Josue would be better off staying here. The brothers said their father had been searching for Ana and Josue all these years, but had never found any leads. Then, about 6 months ago, the father had lost contact entirely due to work. But before that, he had written Ana a letter, hoping that if they ever found their way here, they would know at once how much he missed them. With permission, Dora read the letter aloud. The father asked Ana to wait for him a little longer. He would be back soon, and when he did, their whole family would be reunited.
Eu, você, Isaías, Moisés e Josué.
A smile finally spread across Josue's face, but deep beneath that smile was a trace of bitterness. He knew the letter never mentioned him by name, but he still thanked Dora for her kind lie. As dawn approached, Dora put on the dress Josue had bought her, and under candlelight carefully applied lipstick in front of the mirror. She took one last look at Josue, sleeping peacefully with his brothers, then walked out of the bedroom, and placed 2 letters beneath the photo of Josue's parents. Across thousands of miles of longing, 2 hearts were finally brought together, and in this journey, Dora had completed her own search for self and redemption. The distant sky had already turned a fiery red. Dora set off with steady steps to greet a new tomorrow. Josue, as if sensing something, woke up. After realizing that Dora was gone, barefoot, he ran out after her, along the road for a long time. As the bus rolled on, sunlight streamed through the window onto Dora's face. She was writing a letter to Josue.
Também vai ser melhor para você ficar aí com seus irmãos. Você merece muito, muito mais do que eu tenho para te dar. No dia que você quiser lembrar de mim, dá uma olhada no retratinho que a gente tirou junto. Eu digo isso porque tenho medo que dia você também me esqueça.
By the time she finished the last word, Dora was already in tears, and Josue, watching the bus fade into the distance, was weeping just as hard. They weren't family, but they meant more to each other than family, and as if sharing one mind, they both reached for their time capsules at the same time. Looking at the photo of the 2 of them holding hands and smiling happily, all the arguments and all the tenderness from the journey echoed through their minds, and became the most eternal memory buried deep in their souls. Would Dora mail this letter to Josue? Maybe yes, maybe no, but just like the countless letters she had once written for others, the moment she put pen to paper, she had already found comfort and a kind of transcendence in her soul.